Sziasztok! Ma folytatom a SpellForce 3 ember hadjáratomat, és itt maradtunk ugyebár, hogy visszajöttünk Mulandirba, a fő bázisra, és ugyebár lehet ilyen épületeket fejleszteni, ha minden igaz, és egyelőre nem nagyon. De a lényeg az, hogy vannak itt küldetések meg minden, ha minden igaz. Szóval ugyebár már egyre közelebb és közelebb vagyunk a dolgokhoz. Mondjuk azt sem tudom, miről van is szó.
The fabled corporal. Good to finally meet you in person. I'm Flynn, second in command of the Wayfarers. I have to say, for someone who only led a puny Nortander division once, you're doing quite a good job leading an army so far.
Thanks.
Not of them saying I couldn't do better, but still. Anyway, have you come to arm our men? I strongly suggest you do so.
But you're armed already, aren't you?
Well, yes, with rusty swords and dented armors. I mean with proper equipment. If you give me the coin, I'll send out orders to my contacts in Everlight. It'll improve our strike force significantly.
I want to buy some better equipment for the Wayfarers.
Music to my ears. What did you have in mind?
Ooh. Oh, okay. Reinforcements. Improve the human arsonist unit by changing its hit point. Én fejleszteném a halberdier, recruit, arbalest, scout, infantry. Az infantrikat, a human infantryment, azt kéne erősíteni, nem? Adom ezt is. Ezt is, és akkor veszek egy... Ez erősíti az életerőket, ez pedig olcsóbbá teszi őket. És az a baj, hogy annyi pénzem nem hiszem, hogy lesz. Vagy igen? Ó, bizony. Ó, nagyon jó. Quest item. Oké, akkor az marad. Ennek pedig darabja 1050-et ér. Scout, Human Scout, Arbalest. Életerő vagy képzés? Képzése legyen olcsóbb. Ó, rengeteg bizét tudok itt venni. Halberdier, arbalest. Erősítsük a halberdiereket akkor még. Nagy véletlenül eladjak olyasmit, amit nem kéne amúgy. Annak nem örülnék. Még a Mancrushert azt eladhatom, az nekem nem kell. Ó, nem. No. És ezt nem lehet elhasználni? Várjunk. Egyelőre nem lehet elhasználni ezt. Hogy a human infantry, az infantrynak olcsóbb legyen a képzése.
What's next?
Jó, irány akkor ide.
Now would you look at that? What do we need?
Kicsit erősítjük itt a dolgokat. Hogy elnézem, elég jó kis bázison van. Plusz jól látom, hogy itt vannak valami épületek? Emberépületek? Jól láttam itt valamit? Igen. Ezt nemrég építették, nem? Nem hiszem, hogy eddig ott lett volna.
I must say, I am impressed.
With Mulandir? Yes. It's quite a sight. I still can't believe we're the first ones who found this place.
It seems unlikely, yes, but yet it happened. Isgrim, the dwarf, told me about it. He said that the rock illusion shielding the entrance vanished as soon as you spoke the words, and that it did not react to Isgrim himself.
Tell me, Tahar, what do you make of that?
Maybe I'm connected to this place.
But how? I know there is more to you than meets the eye. Something about you is different, although I cannot say what it is.
I believe we stand on the verge of a change. Things have happened, Tahar. Things, the extent of which we have not even come close to comprehending. And they have set something in motion.
How do you know this? Are you some kind of medium?
A medium? No, quite the opposite. I'm an observer. As you have undoubtedly noticed, I lack the, let us call it, emotional intensity most people display in their daily lives. That can be a challenge, but it also allows me a unique perspective on the world.
And to me, it is evident that the war your father started has done more than simply given birth to the purity of light. It was the first pebble in what will soon become an avalanche.
You're talking about the Bloodburn.
Among other things, yes. But as I said, there is more to it. All this, your journey, your role in what Rondar Lacane believes to be a vision sent by Aenir. It is only the beginning. But let us continue this discussion when I can give you more than vague, semi-prophetic statements.
All right. We'll talk later.
Why? When?
When something comes up. I'll go prepare for our next mission now.
Understood.
Okay. Várjunk.
Let's see.
Yes? What is it?
Okay.
Where did you grow up? You don't look Nortandian.
I
Beszéljünk
do
most.
not. That is correct. I grew up in Imperia.
Imperia? That's a long way from here.
I know, but I hardly have any memories. My parents fled from the Civil War and set over to Northander when I was only 4 years old.
So you were refugees?
Yes, much like many Northandians are now. We lived in the Utran lands, and my parents are still there.
What's it like to live in Northander as an Empyrean?
Well, it was my impression that Utran people are by nature a lot more skeptical towards outsiders than, for example, the citizens of Everlight. All in all, however, I cannot complain. Both my father and my mother found work quite quickly, and thanks to my occupation as first scholar of the Creators Guild, they now live a quite comfortable life.
And when did you discover your magic?
At a very early age. I believe I was 7 at that time. I must have had an outbreak, but I can hardly remember any of it. All I know is that my mother's employer, who was a mage himself, immediately took me in. I went to Everlight when I was 10, and did not leave there ever since. Until now.
Interesting. You're the first Empyrean I've met.
I am not surprised.
I've noticed that you use both white and black magic in combat. I've never seen anyone do that before. Don't the two schools exclude each other?
Normally, yes. The essence of white and of black magic deeply oppose each other. Trying to combine both of them usually has a similar effect on a mage's mind as adding water onto a patch of burning oil. I, however, never had that problem. The first time I found out was at the Arcane University in Greyfell, where I studied. The white magic spell I had cast on a rabbit to heal his wounded paw accidentally killed it. I was very young at that time, and I knew my professor would be upset if he found out, so I channeled my energy on undoing what I had done. As a result, I created an undead rabbit. It immediately went feral, and I put it back to sleep. But rather than feeling the terrible headache that had been described to us as an effect of combining these two schools, I felt a slight sense of, well, exhilaration. I secretly continued these experiments during my studies, and found out that whatever it is that causes this mental discord among normal mages did not affect me.
Do you have an explanation for this?
No, I do not. Maybe it has to do with the way my mind is structured, or maybe it is a simple coincidence.
Huh. Well, that's odd.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Szóval véletlenül az, mikor tanulta a mágiát, akkor, ha jól értettem, meg akar gyógyítani egy nyulat. Ugyebár ez a csávó fekete mágiát és fénymágiát is használ. Így véletlenül nem meggyógyította a nyulat, hanem élő halottat csinál belőle. Ja, hogy veled is kell dumáljak, oké. Érdekes amúgy. Egyszerre tudja használni mind a kettőt, a fény és a sötét mágiát.
Interesting.
Szóval az élő halottakat így
Tahar.
Seems your men have made
sötét
themselves
mágiával hozzák
Yeah,
létre.
they have. But blazes, Tahar. I know I've said it before, but this place is incredible. It's also a very good base of operations. Should we make enemies, and I hope it doesn't come to that, we're well prepared. But I'm guessing that's not what you came here for. You want to talk, right? About what I did 8 years ago?
Why did you do it? Why did you tell my father about my plan?
Well, what do you want me to say? I did it because back then I still believed in your father's vision. What you, Zane, and Helena were going to do, it just seemed, I don't know, wrong. But that doesn't mean it was an easy decision. Also, I didn't think he'd execute you. Probably naive, I know, but it's the truth. You see, I joined Asamo because there was truth in his words. The masks, the pikes, all that hatred against us defilers that the purity of light is spreading now. It was all already there. The people always feared us, simply because we were different. Because we are better than they. Your father, he knew something like that would happen eventually. So he stood up and tried to stop it before it was too late. At least that's what he said. And to be honest, I still don't know if he only lost that vision, or had never had it to begin with.
I can't believe you're saying this. The reason the people hate us mages now is because of what my father did. He confirmed their fears for them by starting this goddamn war.
Oh, really? And what about all that shit that happened beforehand? The witch burnings, mages driven out of the cities, gifted children abandoned by their mothers.
Did you just say because we were better?
Yes, better. How else should I say it? We cast fire from our hands, heal wounds with a mere thought, so how would you call it? I call it superior. And the ungifted know it as well as we do. But does that mean that we want to kill them? No. We're not animals, we're people, just like they are. Only that we are the lions and they are the cats. We didn't choose to be that way, but it's what nature chose for us.
I don't know. But to me, it sounds like you're still trying to justify what you did in that war.
That's where you're wrong. It's not all black and white, Tahar. And you of all people should know that. I know I made mistakes. And I've spent the past 7 years making amends. What else do you think the Wayfarers are for? Why else would I have left? And look, I do not expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I could do it if I were in your position.
I remember that back in the rebellion, ancient relics such as the Godstones were your speciality. Is there anything interesting you could tell me about them?
Interesting? That depends on what you mean by that. I mean, it goes without saying that what this rune allows us to do is beyond fascinating. Apart from that, I could only tell you the things you already know. How both the Hibernians and Shapers worshipped them and harnessed their magic. But that's about it.
So, regarding the Wayfarers, you said that you founded them to make amends. Is that true? And if yes, how did you found them?
Yes, otherwise I wouldn't have said it.
As to how I formed them, it's a long story. And maybe one we should save for later.
I want to talk about my father.
I figured you'd want to eventually. What is it you want to know?
Do you think it's true? That he was simply crazy?
Towards the end, yes. He had certainly lost his sanity. But before that, I still don't know. I've said it before, but there's one part of me that likes to think he was a madman to begin with. And then there's the other voice that tells me that he was merely a visionary who had lost his way. But if there's one thing I know, it's that he was a leader. Whenever he spoke to us, it was electric.
To this day, I've never seen someone with his charisma.
You sound almost nostalgic.
Nostalgic? No. It's just... I've never met someone with that energy. You have some of it, Tahar. I only started to realize that here. But most of it is still asleep.
This might sound strange, but do you see any resemblance between him and me?
Interesting that you ask. Yes, there were moments where I could not help but notice that certain... something that strongly reminds me of your father.
Could you be a bit more specific?
Well, I think that the best way to describe it is a sort of look in your eyes. It's somehow distant, but at the same time driven and intense. And it can be both intimidating and charismatic. I believe that it's this energy that helped your father rally the noble houses and all these mages behind him. And ironic as it may be, it might help you with our cause too.
My father never told me how he grew up. Do you know anything about that?
About his childhood? I'm afraid not. He shared some fragments of his past with me, but probably no more than he shared with you.
Let's discuss something else.
Oké. Kb. Ennyi. Hú, már azt hittem sose lesz vége amúgy. Na jó, irány akkor erre. Valami miatt ugyebár nem tudom még használni a néhány ilyen schematic dolgot. Ami nem jó. Na mindegy. Aha, irány erre. Itt van Iria. És itt van, nem tudom mi ez. Ah, Secret of the Shapers. Oké. Okay.
Tahar, I guess I still owe you an explanation, don't I? About that bandit in Farland's Hope?
Do you?
I do.
No.
Corporal? Need anything?
Tell me a bit about your time on the road. What was it like?
Is that a command, Corporal?
Please?
All right, but I'm afraid there isn't so much to tell. Have you ever been on the road by yourself?
No.
Well, then you probably don't know how wearisome it can get. Sleeping under the stars sounds romantic at first, until you realize that most of the time it's sleeping in the mud, in drizzle. Most of the time, your stomach and your purse are empty, and your feet are full of blisters. And, of course, there's the constant danger. Especially if you're traveling on your own.
Did you ever have a companion?
Some, yeah, but most of it was just temporary. Though there was one I traveled with for longer. Quentin.
How did you meet?
Coincidence. A small town between Finn and Mir and Lar. We played dice together and he cheated. When I called him out on it, he tried to turn tail. But one of the other guests stopped him for me. They wanted to go give him a beating, but I told them to stop. He gave me back my money and we started talking. And, believe it or not, we found that we got along quite well.
So you started traveling together? With a thief?
I wouldn't call him that. He was just young and careless. We ended up traveling for almost a year.
I see. What was your relationship?
You mean... no, we were just friends. He was way too young for my liking, and I think I was too old for him. We were more like sister and brother.
Ja, persze. Én is azt mondanám.
What was his story? Where was he headed?
Into the blue, same as me. He had quite an interesting task, but I wouldn't feel comfortable sharing it with you, to be honest. He wouldn't want that.
Huh. So, how did you split up? What happened?
Nothing dramatic. We came by a village and decided to rest there for a while. The roads had become quite dangerous due to the mage wars, and we didn't want to go out unprepared. I did some healing for the villagers, and he helped out the local smith. He liked it, and the smith wanted him as an apprentice, so he stayed. I was surprised and a bit hurt at first, but then I realized it was probably for the better. I still think of him sometimes, though.
Huh. And how did you make a living?
That was the easiest part. I healed people.
With light magic?
Yes and no. It was my magic that mended the wounds, but since mages are often met with suspicion, how shall I say, got a little creative. Frankly put, whenever I treated someone, I gave him a magical potion to drink, which was just water mixed with some harmless herb to give it color. The rest was laying on hands to help the potion's effect, which was pure light magic and how I did the actual healing.
And that worked?
Better than you'd think. People were fighting over my panacea as if I was Ellen incarnate, while cursing the evil defilers who had caused this war. Ironic, isn't it?
Do you miss it sometimes? The vagabond life?
Well, we're still vagabonds somehow, aren't we? But I know what you mean. And yeah, I sometimes do. The wind on my skin, the vastness of the wildlands, and the fact that all you have to think about is the mile ahead of you. It's another world. There was this one night I'll never forget. I had made a camp at a clearing, set up campfire, and I was leaning against a tree, slowly drifting toward sleep. Then, all of a sudden, it started to rain. Not just the usual drizzle, it was bucketing down, drowning everything, the earth, the noise, the plants around me. My first impulse was to jump up, to find shelter, get my things into the dry. But I didn't. Instead, I saw. I don't know how else to put it. All of a sudden, there was this deep sense of peace. As if all my life I had been chasing something without knowing it myself. And in that moment had found it. So I just watched. I sat there and I watched. That feeling lasted until the sun came up. And then I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was gone.
That sounds beautiful.
And a bit dramatic. But yeah, it was beautiful. I've never felt something like that again.
And what do you make of it now?
Truth be told, I don't know. But it changed something. Even though I cannot say what it is.
How are you holding up?
I think I'm good. And you? You're the pariah carrying out Aeonir's will, not me.
I'm getting by.
Aren't we all? So, can I help you with something?
Could you tell me a bit more about your homeland? Finn and Mir?
Well, it's not my homeland anymore, but yeah, shoot.
Okay, come on.
Interesting. There was something else I wanted to ask.
Sure. What?
You never told me why you fled Finn and Mir.
Oh, well, that's a long story. One I'd rather not discuss now, if you don't mind.
All right. Then maybe another time.
Yes, maybe. Corporal? Need anything?
Ew.
Could you tell me a bit more about your home?
Well, it's not my homeland
yeah.
anymore.
How is human culture different from elven culture?
I assume you mean Nortander from Finn and Mir? There isn't one elven culture, as little as there's just the humans. Generally spoken, though, I wouldn't say they're too different. Especially not compared to the orcs. Life is a lot slower, mainly due to our lifespan, and elves are even more defined by tradition than humans. They revere nature and value tradition and rules above all else, and they are extremely aware of what they say, how they say it, and to whom. Which also makes it very easy to offend an elf. I'm an exception in that regard, but that was something my vagrant years taught me. But then again, not all elves are like that. There are some who care as little about Ellen the White Tree and the traditions as a troll cares about his morning toilet.
What role does magic play among elves?
It's everywhere. Magic is considered a gift of Ellen, and it defines your standing in every possible way. We may have talked about that already, but the whole council who runs the country is made up of mages. Which is why the Purity will have a hard time finding followers in Finn and Mir, should they ever be naive enough to try.
I doubt that will ever happen. Elves have a very long lifespan. What's it like to live for so long?
Hard to say, since I don't know what a human body feels like. As an elf, you simply take it for granted. When I first realized how short a human life is during my travels, I was baffled. I've been on this world for 39 years now, and in the elven world, I'm hardly considered an adult. Here, I'd have delivered my 7th child by now. It's strange. That's the best way to describe it. But you know what I eventually came to realize?
Tell me.
That age doesn't necessarily make you wiser. I've talked to 30-year-old humans who understood more of the world than the ancient seers of Finn and Mir. It's all about experiences.
Hú, oké, nem is volt annyira hosszú.
Interesting. There was something else I wanted to ask.
Sure. What?
This might sound odd, but why did you join me? It was me the Harbinger wanted.
Why are you asking? If you want me to leave, you can just say it. No hard feelings.
No, I just want to understand. You've been putting yourself in a lot of danger for our cause.
I guess so. Well, I hate to disappoint, but I don't think there's a particular reason. As you pointed out in the prison, I'm a fugitive as much as you are, and my best chance of survival was sticking with you.
Goodbye.
Hú, oké, szóval ez is megvolt.
Let's see.
Szóval ugyebár ő tünde, és elég sokáig él. Egy emberhez képest.
Now would you look at that?
Jó tudni. Hogy őszinte legyek.
Let's see. All right, let's get to the chase. We need to discuss where and how we start our search. You're all familiar with the objective?
I think so. We need to find the Forge Stones to reignite the Nexus, decipher the Song of the White with it, and put an end to the Bloodburn.
That's about it. Area thinks that someone removed the Nexus stones shortly before the city was abandoned, but they left markers on the stone map. And now that we have a small army backing us up, we can start searching. Iskrim?
Yeah, we suspect one of the stones to be in the desert of Aenir's Blade, probably in the possession of the Iron Falcons, whereas the other one is on an unknown island.
An unknown island?
Correct. And yes, the oceans might have long taken it, which is why the only way to find out is to build a ship. And to...
Wait. I am not certain, but I might know what that island is. Does it happen to be in the northwest? In the Black Sea?
I think so.
Well, that's fascinating. 2 years ago, there was an archaeologist in Everlight who claimed the same. That there was an island in the Black Sea, unknown to our cartographers.
Did he find it?
That is a complicated story. But building a ship would take a month, and this is a trail we could follow. If we go to Everlight, I can tell you more.
Well, it does sound promising.
And intriguing. So, where do we go first, Tahar? Everlight or Aenir's Blade?
I'll think about it and let you know when we head out. For now, just get prepared.
Will do, Corporal.
Jó, akkor dumáljunk Isgrimmel, és ugyebár el kell dönteni akkor, hogy hova megyünk. De előbb dumáljunk még Isgrimmel is.
Got it.
To this day, the Shaper's magical and...
Ja. Na, ez is hosszú lesz, ha minden igaz. Ó, te jó ég, rengeteget kell dumálni ebben a játékban. Nagyon sokat. Wow, rengeteget, amit nagyon nem szeretek. De ez van.
Tahar, may I help you with something?
What exactly is it that fascinates you about the Shapers?
Oh, Tahar, that's quite a topic. I don't mind sharing, but are you sure you want to go there?
Yes!
I am. Tell me.
Mondja csak.
Well, where do I start? You see, the Shapers have always fascinated me. They're all over Io. These remnants of a once so glorious civilization. Yet for some reason, so many people are almost oblivious to it. On the one hand, of course, that's very sad. On the other hand, it also makes it a lot more exciting. It's like I'm a treasure hunter, only that everyone else fails to see the treasures around us. Tell me, Tahar, when seeing all of this, don't you sometimes feel like you're exploring a childhood dream? The kind of world the poets and the bards always spoke of?
Sometimes, yes. It's dark, but also fascinating.
Absolutely. But this childish fascination was only the spark. The more I studied the Shapers, the more enthralled I became with their culture. Did you know that at the pinnacle of their existence, they ruled over all of Io? A global empire with no one to oppose them.
You seem to consider that a good thing.
Oh, good, bad, the world doesn't work like that. Of course, there are writings that hint at the fact that the Shaper Empire wasn't all rainbows and unicorns, but still it was stable. And it persisted for tens of thousands of years. Can you imagine? All this knowledge, all this art, all this wisdom. Nothing in the Io of today can match that. Nothing. It's like comparing a sea full of secrets with a puddle of muddy water.
How do you know all this?
Some of it from writings, some of it's just connecting the dots. I know how many scholars are out there at the universities giving their talks about the inscrutable empire, but it's not nearly as inscrutable as they say. Their problem is they're trying to understand the Shapers by reading books and dusty tablets. That's not how it works. You need to get out there, into the field. And even if it takes years of fruitless digging, eventually you're bound to stumble onto something. Another piece of the mosaic.
Very poetic.
Because it is.
My father always told me the Shaper Empire relied a lot on slaves.
What? No, that's rubbish. The Shapers had castes, yes, and it's probably the lower castes your father was referring to. But to call these slaves is like calling, say, a tanner who was born outside a royal family a slave, just because he'll never be a king. And even the very lowest caste, the Zalanyur, always had enough to eat, a roof over their heads, and could, without paying a single coin, get themselves healed by a cleric if they needed to. So if you think that's unjust, go ahead. Ask an Everlight beggar which era he'd rather live in. He's not a slave, yes, but in some ways he's worse off.
And how exactly did their empire come to be? They must have conquered quite a few nations.
They had the liberty of being the first living civilization on our Io, at least as far as we know. That made it easier to maintain peace and stability. Until the end and the dragons.
And yet, they died out.
Yeah. Great mystery.
Most scholars think it was the dragons.
They do, but I doubt it. You saw what the Shapers were capable of. Even a race as powerful as the dragons couldn't have wiped them out. And you see the shape the city is in, Tahar. There's no traces of fire and destruction. But regardless of what it was, it doesn't change the fact that the way the current races of this world treat the Shapers is nothing short of pathetic. They were greater than we'll ever be. But instead of studying this greatness, we ignore them. And why? Just because it doesn't fit into our religion, our traditions, or whatever reason they can come up with. Because to many, admitting what a marvel the Shapers truly were would mean admitting that our culture is pale in comparison.
Is our world really that bad?
That depends on your expectations. We could do worse, certainly, but if this is as good as we can get, then I have nothing to feel but pity.
Maybe you're right. There's a lot we could learn from the Shapers.
There is. In any case, I suppose you found your answer, haven't you? This is what fascinates me about the Shapers. They're a reminder of what we could be, if only we wanted to.
I see. Well, thanks for the explanation, Iskrim. I appreciate it. There's something I've been wondering about. How did your cooperation with the Harbinger begin?
Well, that was simple. I was in Everlight at the time, on request of a nobleman. He'd hired me to do some work on an artifact collection of his. One night, a courier contacted me and gave me a letter. The message outlined the mission and the pay, even though the latter was almost irrelevant to me once I realized what it was that Lacane wanted me to find.
Mulandir.
Yeah. You know the rest of the story.
What are your thoughts on the Harbinger, Rondar Lacane?
Well, he's my employer. Without him, I wouldn't be on this mission. Or, what do you mean?
I was trying to say, how do you feel about what he stands for? The purity of light, Aenir's return.
Oh, that. I'm not certain I have an opinion on these matters.
Don't you care who you're working for?
Truth be told, not that much. Making a living as an archaeologist is hard enough as it is. I can't afford to be picky. And in all honesty, aren't Lacane and his fellows just more of the same? There have always been cults who weren't happy with the Guardians and believed they had found the true and only God. There was even that one who believed in a sort of schizophrenic God, who was both the trinity of 3 different beings and the singular omnipotent God at the same time. However that's supposed to work. Sounds funny when you think about it, but those lads were dead serious.
So you think the purity is harmless?
Of course they are. And like any other fanatic, he and his fellows will go down once people realize his God doesn't have all the answers.
So you don't believe in Aenir's return? In the new world?
No, I don't.
But there's truth to what the purity claims. The Guardians have been unusually silent.
Yeah, because maybe they finally realized how silly and ungrateful most of their creations are and decided not to bother anymore. What I'm trying to say is, there could be all kinds of reasons why they've withdrawn. And I doubt a bonkers robe-wearing lad such as Lacane knows the answer.
Does the Harbinger know you feel that way?
No, I guess not, but he doesn't need to know about that, does he?
Maybe you're right.
I certainly hope so.
How does one make a living as an archaeologist?
Good question. One I usually prefer not to think or talk about. To be honest, it's a tough life. For some obscure reason, only very few scholars take interest in the Shaper or the Hibernian culture, even though there is so much to be found. It's a shame.
Like what? What is there to be found?
What? You mean apart from monumental steel constructs, ghost warriors, and a city full of ancient secrets to be discovered? A lot. But that's another topic.
How do you explain that lack of interest?
Well, what do you think? Ignorance. No matter if it's orcs, elves, dwarves, or humans. We're all terribly bad at learning from the past. Blasted, there's so much to be found, so much to be explored. Not just riches, but the technology, wisdom, and ancient secrets. But no, for some reason, the people with the coin just don't care. The only ones who even try to access this treasure are incompetent amateur treasure hunters, who usually get their heads chopped off by the first defense mechanism they walk into.
True. It's a pity.
Well, I suppose that answers your question. The life of an archaeologist is hard, and there have been times where I questioned if... well, if all the sacrifices I've made were worth it. Yet, here I am now.
I've been meaning to ask you, how does a dwarf end up so far from the Windwall Mountains?
Let's not talk about this now, shall we? Maybe later.
All right, sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to...
No sweat, Tahar. It's fine.
Found out anything new about the rune?
Well, so far all I can say is that what Lacane has given you is indeed a Shaper artifact, as we suspected. Now, I would write all this purity talk of the rune being a gift of Aenir off as religious nonsense if it weren't for the fact that the rune's energy actually interacts with the Godstones, shrines of Aenir.
Which means that the Shapers and Aenir are somehow connected.
Somehow, yes. And I'll find out how.
Goodbye. What do we need?
Yeah, do you need something? I'm a tad busy.
Oké. Na végre. Már azt hittem, hogy sosem lesz vége.
Understood. Interesting.
Most ugyebár akkor meg kell keresni egy ilyen energiaforrást, ha minden igaz.
Now would you look at that?
És előbb ki kell jutni innen. Várjunk Már pénzünk nem igazán van, szóval... Ja. Irány a world map. És akkor lássuk, hogy mi is a helyzet. Aeonir's Blade, vagy Everlight, Leonon, itt van Greyfell. Menjünk ide! Ah, hello!
Let us make this quick.
Hát Iriát és Isgrimet azt visszük, ez logikus. Most mondom, vigyek még egy mágust, vagy vigyek még egy közelharci karaktert? Vigyünk egy mágust.
In the shadow of the eponymous mountain lies the wasteland referred to as the Foot of Bargagor. It is home to the Orcish tribe called the Firewielders, as well as to many unforgiving beasts, from the undead to demons. While most travelers stay away from Bargagor for this very reason, the Firewielders cherish their homeland's perils. According to Orcish culture, only through constant conflict and danger can a people stay strong and persevere.